Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Psychedelic Vantage. Today, Adam and I are going to be discussing what we are looking out for in the psychedelic drug development space over the next around 4 to 8 months. Before we get into this video, I would like to say that we both reserve the right to be wrong about our predictions. And as always, none of this is financial or medical advice. So, Adam, let's get into it. I'm excited for this one. It's going to be interesting to hear your perspective on a lot of this as well. This is based on a post that I made on our account. Um, First of all, and of course, it was made with a lot of it was from talking to you as well. And the background was helping inform these opinions. Um, First one, Cybin will become the first company in the space to receive FDA breakthrough therapy designation for two different programs. Of course, here I'm referring to the second one being CYB4 in generalized anxiety disorder. That is set to read out in December, January. I'm thinking more January here. Um, and yeah, I'm really excited for this data. Doug has come on the channel a bunch of times over the last year or so, and we always ask about this program. So, for viewers who don't know, it's an intramuscular injection of deuterated DMT. The trip lasts around 90 minutes, with most of it being on the tail end of the experience. People get up into that breakthrough DMT space within 2 to 3 minutes, which Cybin likes. They don't want people waiting around too much. Um, but with that being said, Adam, what do you think? How do you feel about CYB4 for generalized anxiety disorder? Yeah.
So based on, all right, so first off, I just want to reverse a little bit. The reason I think you think, I think, we both believe that Cybin will get breakthrough therapy designation for this specific indication is because MindMed led the way in terms of getting this breakthrough therapy designation for generalized anxiety disorder with their LSD, correct?
Yeah, that's definitely part of the reason. Absolutely.
Okay, so
Absolutely.
I just wanted to make that clear to anyone watching. So it's like there's already a footprint here and reason to
Yes.
believe that Cybin could get this breakthrough therapy designation. I 100% I do believe that Cybin will get breakthrough therapy designation for this because once again, if you're giving it to a longer acting psychedelic like LSD, which obviously we can get into that a little bit in the video maybe at some point, but it just seems like Cybin's formulation, their deuterated DMT, is just much. It's very well suited once again to receive this designation, and also because it will, I think for when the FDA is looking at things and you see a shorter duration, a smaller amount of shorter amount of clinic time, a shorter amount in the psychedelic space, it just seems like it just makes more sense for me in terms of like what would um how things would look for the FDA. I don't even know
Mm.
how they go about giving breakthrough
Yeah.
therapy designation, to be honest.
So breakthrough therapy designation is given when a program has shown at least preliminary evidence that it works better than the current standard of care. That's my understanding. I don't think the FDA makes the decision based on the duration of the experience. However, in terms of the commercial viability here for Cybin, it's definitely looking really good. It's interesting that we're jumping to conclusions again. We have the right to be wrong about or reserve the right to be wrong about our predictions, but it's interesting that we're already kind of maybe even expecting this. It shows what people expect out of these psychedelic compounds. We have less data on DMT than these other programs, but Cybin also has a lot of. They've done 5 DMT studies. One of them was an MDD from Small Pharma. They also looked at anxiety scores, and it looked very good. So that also de-risks the program. I'm expecting great results. I got to say, I'm really excited about DMT. I've spoken about how I think that actually we can potentially see better response and remission rates in some people than compared to psilocybin. That's to be determined.
So, all right. So to build on kind of what I was saying, it generally, I think that so while LSD is phenomenal in terms of anxiety and obviously depression also, and there's a lot of anecdotal evidence to back that up.
Yeah.
I think with DMT specifically, we saw the data. The data was great, but once again, there's also like a tremendous amount of anecdotal to back up kind of the effects that it would have on anxiety. So I see no reason why Cybin wouldn't get breakthrough designation on this. And from a personal personal perspective, I think I've been pretty outspoken about this. I think DMT, and specifically Cybin's formulation of DMT, is
Mm.
probably the single program that I'm most excited about within the whole psychedelic biotech like economy right now.
Ecosystem.
Ecosystem,
No,
sorry.
no, it's all good. It's definitely. I think it's tied for the. I have three programs that I'm very. I mean, I'm excited about all of them, but three. It's definitely up there for me as well. I completely agree. It is interesting to see they're looking at DMT, two doses separated by 3 weeks. I thought that was interesting because, DMT is a very, intense experience. I was thinking maybe is that should they be doing that? I don't know. Obviously, they know what they're doing way better than me, but I am curious to see if that second dose adds more benefit. I don't think it added too much more benefit in the small pharma MDD data, actually. But with that being said, we'll move on here to the next one. Again,
Well, I actually
excited.
have a
Oh,
theory, if you
sorry. Go
don't
on.
mind. I have a
Of
theory
course.
in terms of why they might be doing the second dose, is because DMT is an extremely, it's different. It's unlike anything you'll ever experience in your life, especially when you reach these peak mystical experiences. So I think with the first dose, for most people, there will be a lot of anxiety on the come up, and I don't
Mm.
think Cybin is doing any type of like titration higher, as they're just giving you the bolus. It's happening. You're going right up, correct?
Yeah, you're right. They are going right up there with the intramuscular injection for sure.
So
Absolutely.
I actually think, and listen, the data could prove me wrong, but maybe the second dose could be because the person is used to they understand what's going to happen in the psychedelic space at that point, and it might give them more of an opportunity to do some of that inner work that they want to do, especially on the way down as well, on the come down. But I think it's important. I think that could be like very integral to the experience because
Mm.
you have a lot of anxiety the first time. You don't know what the hell you're going to experience, and then the second time you understand where you're going, and you can kind of be more flexible in terms of what therapeutic outcomes you want for yourself when you go and kind of get that second dose.
It's really interesting you say that because Doug has said in a bunch of conference calls and with us as well. With CYB3, that sounds exactly what Doug's been saying with CYB3. So maybe that's the thought process as well that they have with CYB4. I'm glad you brought this up, Adam.
I think it applies broadly for a lot of psychedelics, especially if the people using these innovative new psychedelic technologies, right? Innovative and new,
Yeah.
to kind of help themselves. Because let's work under the assumption that a lot of these people have never experienced psychedelics before. So
Right.
you want to, the more comfortable you get with something, the more benefit you can get with it, through it, from
To-
it.
Totally. Totally. I think that's a really good I think that's really thought out well there. I'm excited for this one, Adam, to hear your opinions on this. We've gone back and forth about 5-MeO DMT. I think for like 2 years now. I'm excited for this data, man. And what I said is I expect the results from Beckley Scitech's BPL-003 and GH Research's GH001 to show better response and remission rates in TRD than Compass Pathways phase 2B trial based on a single dose and a single dosing day in the case of GH Research. And I went on to say I feel that overall safety rather than efficacy is the biggest question for 5-MeO DMT. Adam, what do you think?
I think you hit the nail on the head. I think that with 5-MeO DMT specifically, I think the thing you want to look at here is like the adverse events, what's
Mm-hmm.
going to happen during the psychedelic experience, because it's I can't stress enough how intense 5-MeO DMT is.
Mm-hmm.
It's the single psychedelic where on whatever like the dose that these companies are using. I don't know exactly kind of the dosing regimen that both I know more what GHRS is doing, less about
Mm-hmm.
Beckley. But if they're going to get you to that mystical state, a lot of times ego dissolution will come with that, specifically with 5-MeO DMT. And that can be, I think that can in and of itself be considered an adverse event for some people if they don't know how to handle it. So that's
Mm.
why when people are working with 5-MeO DMT outside of, let's say, a biotech setting, it's always the building up, I think, is I think it's a very, very good strategy. But once again, it's usually reserved for people who are very experienced with psychedelics. It's not something you want to, it's like throwing someone into the deep end of a pool, just like, yo, here you go, and figure out how to swim. So I think but with that said, the therapeutic outcomes from 5-MeO-DMT are unlike almost any other psychedelic out there.
Hmm.
And I say
Hmm.
this with certainty in terms of like my own personal experience working with other people in general. It's tremendous. And the best way I could explain it, and like to your credit, what you said compared to, let's say, Compass's psilocybin, um, is the after. So they call it an afterglow, but we'll for the sake here, we'll call it the therapeutic benefits. For 5-MeO-DMT, I'm familiar with many instances where that the therapeutic benefits have been retained for almost a year following just one breakthrough dose. Just one
Yeah.
breakthrough dose.
Hmm. I've heard
That's
same, read same. Yep.
that's tremendous. That's tremendous. And it could help a tremendous amount of people. Just the hesitancy behind it is how will people be able to tolerate this? And I guess it's up to these biotech companies to figure that out. But that's
Yeah,
my only
totally.
apprehension around it.
So I think what can be said, and you'll probably agree, preparation is going to be very important for both GH Research and Beckley. I know it's a little bit, the psychological support is more involved, I believe, with Beckley. Um, so I wrote an article on our website a while back, actually 2 months ago, talking about how these companies are maybe trying to get around the experience being too intense. So, for example, GH Research individualized dosing regimen. They start with 6 milligrams. If the person has not reached a peak mystical experience, that's what they refer to it as. They move up to 12 milligrams. If they could tolerate more, maybe 18. Um, I think it's separated by an hour or two in between each dosing session. This is not dissimilar to what we see at retreats, based on my understanding, referring to people, I guess, out there in the wild know the handshake dose, the hug, and the full embrace. So I don't think it's actually reinventing the wheel here for GH research. And also, this is inhalation. um, GH research actually thinks it's good for someone to be, get into that experience very quickly, less time waiting around. And Atai and Beckley have a different view. They actually want that slower come up. And that's how I think they believe it's going to be, maybe not too intense, and it will be, people will be able to tolerate it. But again, this is all to be determined in the data. I've been talking about 5-MeO with you for like 2 years. I am ready to see this data. I am excited. I've been saying it's going to show better results, response and remission compared to Compass, just as durable. Again, I do think that safety is the biggest question here. But also, Adam, I'm curious to see what the relationship between Beckley and Atai looks like by early next year. I have no prediction on that personally.
We'll see
Yeah,
what happens. Wouldn't be surprised if a Thai owns Beckley at some point soon.
yeah, well, yeah. Neither would I. I guess they do have a time limited right of first refusal on Beckley with a 35.5% ownership stake currently. They also have warrants that can be exercised, one-to-one warrant coverage, I believe, at a 30% premium. So it'll be interesting to see how that all pans out. Coming back to Atai here, Adam, I wrote Atai will sell their stake in Compass if it means they have to raise at these current levels in the future. I could have worded this a bit differently. So basically, what I'm saying here is, if it comes down to the time where Atai needs to raise, they got to get their trials moving on VLS-01, EMP-01. I think, I personally think that they will sell their stake in Compass. I've heard Florian in a conference call the other day kind of saying, we have the optionality with our stake in Compass with the runway. At least that's how I interpreted it and heard him. And to be honest, as an Atai shareholder, this is what I would want to see. I got to be very honest. Atai does own, 12% of Compass, which is nice. If that stock starts to pop off data, I would love to see them sell to work on their own programs, which I am personally more excited about than Comp 360. And we could not get diluted at these levels if we're still at these levels. So that's been my take. Adam, do you agree that if they are, in this range in the coming months for whatever reason, they need money for VLS-01, EMP-01, you think they sell their stake in Compass? What do you think?
I think selling it at these levels, I don't think that's gonna.
Oh
I
yeah.
don't know. I don't know if that's enough of a return on investment for a Thai.
Hmm.
Maybe they were looking for more. As an investor, I'm not quite sure. To be honest,
Hmm.
it's hard for me to say because let's say the Compass data comes out and it's really good, and then I don't know what type of based on everything we've seen within the psychedelic biotech, it's kind of hard to predict how much a stock would appreciate off good data,
So hard.
what we need to see and stuff like that. Like if you asked me this a couple of years ago, I would have been much more certain. But as it stands
Right.
right now, I'm just not sure. I think Atai has gotten themselves into a precarious situation where they might have to dilute at these levels because that's just kind of how the cookie crumbles sometimes. And in terms of some of the other programs that they were relying on to maybe to get the stock price to appreciate, they haven't really panned out. And there's a number of those at this point. So, with that said, would I care if they sold their Compass stake to fund other programs? Not necessarily. That's if I'm focused on a tie. Um, do I think they would do it? I have no damn clue.
Yeah, I think ultimately, and they will do whatever they think is best for their shareholders. And Angermeyer owns 20% of this company. I don't know what happens in the background. I imagine, maybe he has a say in what they do. I know he doesn't want to be diluted at these levels. He's actually spoken about it in the past. I think they had like an ATM shelf prospect or something, and people were freaking out. And Christian said, "This is just for the future." He's like, "We would never raise at these levels." The stock was at $5 a share at that time. Listen, I'm a big Atai Bowl, Adam, as you know. Um, with that being said, being a big Atai Bowl, I can admit that I believe it is a show me story for Atai right now, and they're going to have a lot of opportunities in the coming months to show us the data. I'm excited. I'm bullish. But no clue what to expect there. I mean, I have a clue or a guess, but a lot of people who follow the space, they take it as a guarantee that all these data readouts will be good. I think it's like, do people, the Compass phase 2B data was good, but do people not remember the reaction to the stock when that data came out? Like, I think people just forgot about it. Listen, people had high expectations for that trial. Clearly, those expectations weren't met. Maybe people were scared off from the serious adverse events in the 25 milligram group. Overall, it seems the scientists in the space believe it was good data. Um, but I do think that sell off was, you will hear people like Christian Angermeyer say that the stock sold off because of the macro situation, which I do agree. Clearly, that's part of it, but I do also think there was a sell off because of the data. I really believe that. Um, but maybe investors have less, maybe they have more realistic expectations now. It's really hard to say how the stock will react based on positive data. I guess I'll move on to the prediction that goes along with this. So I wrote Comp 005 results. This is their first phase 3 set to read out in December, January. These results will be positive. Investors will be paying close attention to the prevalence of serious adverse events in this trial. No prediction on how the market will react based on potential positive results. For example, will replicating phase 2B results be a win for Compass, more specifically the stock? Or are investors expecting better response and remission rates with less serious adverse events in the 25 milligram group than what was seen in the phase 2B? And also, we're going to get a lot of durability data here. People are being followed out to 12 months. What does average time to relapse look like in this trial as well? I got to say, to end it here, to let you go, Adam, on this, I'm actually much more excited for Comp 006 data, looking at 2 doses. After seeing the results from Cybin after 2 doses, I think this is going to be the path forward for psilocybin. But I do think they also wanted to look at 1 dose and separate and then see when someone relapsed, do another dose, because not all depression patients are the same and everyone will need something different. So I respect what Compass is doing looking at both here. How are you feeling about this readout upcoming, Adam. It's a big one. It's a big one for the space. I view it as more for the stock specifically. I think it's actually more important than the MDMA news. I think it's much more important. That's my take.
I mean, I think I'm with you on that. I think I agree. I think we'll have to see what happens. As long as it signals that it's enough to get things across the finish line, I think that's all really people care about at this point,
Mm,
especially considering what happened with MDMA.
yep.
If we can see if we can get this to mark to if we can get this to the commercialization
Hmm.
and whatnot, I think that's all that matters. The companies will figure out everything else once they get across the finish line. But it's like let's get something across the finish line so we can kind of so we get we notch a win.
Yeah.
Because once again, I think that look at ketamine for example. People are going to ketamine therapy. It's making very good money. Like what is it like $1 billion for Spravato?
For Spravato, yes, specifically, yes. And it looks like that will be that's just getting started, to be
And
honest. But
yeah,
yeah.
it's like you still don't have a lot of doctors recommending this, but we're going to see a lot more doctors kind of, I guess, I feel like over the course of time recommending it. So I think that at the end of the day, if the data is just good enough to get everything across the finish line, I'm cool with that, and we'll see what happens. We all know kind of the potential of psychedelics, and especially
Hmm.
the durability of psychedelics. I think that's really a thing that psychedelics specifically have going for them in
Yeah,
terms
for
of
sure.
you don't have to dose it as frequently and the durability is usually pretty damn good.
Hmm. Hmm.
But yeah, I don't know how anything will react. I don't know what will get affected. I have no opinion on that anymore. But I do think that this is extremely important and I am cautiously optimistic.
I agree. I am also cautiously optimistic. I agree. I'm going with what the analysts are saying on a 65 to 70% probability of success for Compass Pathways, which is very high. But again, will I be shocked if the results aren't great? No, I will not. And perhaps fair or unfair for these other companies working on completely different psychedelics, I think if the Compass data is not good, everyone, maybe not GH Research. I don't understand how that stock moves, to be
Are they
honest,
still
but
on hold for
they,
their
they are on clinical hold in the US. Yes, they are in
okay. Is
clinical hold. I
there any
have
timeline on that?
uh, it's really tough to say. It's really tough to say. I don't know enough to speak about what the timeline could look like there. Um, but I guess we speaking a bit about esketamine here. Um, you know, it is a $1 billion drug right now. I think the insurance reimbursement landscape is getting better for esketamine. It is a $1 billion drug, right? Think about this. But from my knowledge, I don't think more than maybe 70,000 patients have actually been treated with this drug. I don't like to say this because I don't want to sound like I'm just a money hungry person here, but people talk about how, oh, psychedelics, they may not scale well, and that's why it's not going to be a good investment. 70,000 in the case of esketamine is a very small fraction of the depression population. It's like nothing. It's like nothing. And it's $1 billion drug. And of course, I want to see psychedelics scale as much as possible aside from the investment side of things. But I think, what I'm learning from this esketamine, being a $1 billion drug is it doesn't, you don't have to treat the whole world with these drugs to have a successful ROI. I think that should be, in the mind of some investors here.
That's
Again, I
extremely encouraging, dude.
yeah, no, from a commercial standpoint, totally agree. Again, esketamine, a lot more visits to the clinic. Psilocybin, DMT, probably going to be much less. With that said, they will also require most likely more psychological support. So it's interesting to weigh that out. It's interesting. I'm excited for the Compass data. Again, I'm keeping myself cautiously optimistic. Almost for like my mental well-being. I don't want to go in thinking, "Oh, this is like 100% going to be great," and then the next day I see the results and I'm like, "Oh no." I want to be prepared for whatever. And I think, might not be a bad idea for everyone else to maybe think that it is indeed possible the results are not great, but I think they will be. Okay. Enough about Compass here. Gilgamesh Pharmaceuticals will be going public by mid 2025. I wrote this because I believe they're gonna have two phase two readouts by the end of this year with GM 1020, which is it actually is an orally bioavailable version of arketamine. They've stopped wording arketamine around it because of the Atai failure, but something to keep in mind with arketamine for Atai, it was one dose. Gilgamesh is looking at a pill, so maybe multiple doses of this pill will be different. I'm excited for that data. Then 5-fluoro-MET, it's similar to DMT with empathogenic effects. IV formulation, that should be reading out as well. And I'm assuming if the data readouts are good, they're gonna. I think they're gonna go public to raise a lot of money. But we'll see. That was just a little fun prediction there for me.
I think the
At
environment is definitely going to be more friendly too.
Yeah, you had Arch Ventures. I think they're starting a new $3 billion biotech fund. Things are looking bullish. It's gonna be interesting to see. Gilgamesh is a company to really keep a close eye on. And I'm excited to see if they potentially go public. Adam, I think you'll clearly agree with me here. Blue chip healthcare investors will continue to participate in more large fundraising rounds in early to mid 2025. This will depend on positive data, which, as you can tell, I think the data will be. You agree? The same, Deep Track Capital, RA Capital, Logos. You think those guys continue to pile in when these companies raise? Because they're
Yeah,
gonna
like
have
I
to raise
said,
again.
everything is guided by the data. So as long as the
Totally.
data is good, absolutely. And I think that this is also kind of over the course of investing in these psychedelic biotech. But I think like retail investors really need to kind of understand is you can fall in love with these companies all you want, but there's only two things that really, really matter here. It's money and data. And that's all it is. And like if you just boil it down to that, you'll have a much easier time than getting emotionally attached to any of these companies because as long as they have the money and they have the data to back that up, you're in a good situation.
Yeah, and I guess so. I agree in terms of the long term. I agree. Something I've been thinking about. When I've spoken about this, I used to have the mindset I'm going to hold, not look at the stock price for 5 years. Then over time, I started looking at the biotech charts of like maybe hundreds of companies at this point. These stocks do not move like the S&P 500. Let me just tell you, folks. I think many of you know this. There may be times, again, not financial advice, but I am certainly weighing my options here. If a stock goes on a large run, it may not be a bad idea to trim the position. These institutional guys, they're in and out of these stocks. I know some guys come on the channel, they say, we have long-term institutional investors. Maybe some of them are, but a lot of them are moving in and out. Because think about it. So yes, I want to be clear. I do think psychedelics in the long run, these stocks will be up. I do believe that. With that said, there may be periods the stock goes up freaking 500%. Then it's on a downtrend for another 3 years, which is what we've seen a downtrend for 3 years, 4 years. So as an investor, the ultimate goal is to make money, right? Do you want to have your money sitting there when you could be looking at other opportunities? I don't think so. But again, no one, I'm not an expert here. I don't know when the heck is the right time to sell and when the right time to buy is. It's really a day by day decision to me. If I think I have too much money on the line in the future, then I'll make a decision based off that. And it's funny about this, Adam. I brought this up to one of our friends. He's like, you know, Jake, we don't really have to worry about this right now. We're down these investments. He's like, worry about it when you get there. If you're ever up on these names, then you can worry about it. So I take it day by day, long-term bullish on these companies. But these are some things I've been thinking about. And Adam, I think you have a similar view as well about not being, some people, yes, it may be. Like, I'm not saying it's a bad idea to hold long term and not move in and out. Because I don't know if I'm 100% right on this. I'm just going based off what I see with other biotechs they sell off and then they go back up, they sell off. So it's tough. Being invested in individual stocks in general is tough, and there's a reason why most people who do that do not outperform the S&P 500, including some of the top investment funds in the world.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I listen, at the end of the day, like I said earlier, just don't get emotionally attached to any of these companies. I share the same sense. I will be trading in and out because that's just where I want to be. If I see I've made a big enough gain, I will exit my position.
Mm.
And then I will look for a time to re-enter once again, just upon
Mhm.
reassessing and reassessing and continuously reassessing. But I will not fault anyone who wants to just take a set it and forget it approach. They want to buy, just hold and wait X amount of time. Yo, do what
Yeah.
feels right to you. But at the end of the day, I think, at least for me, is like I would like to be just trading in and out of these biotech stocks because the charts in general for most of them are very volatile, and you will be able to have nice entry positions and nice exit positions for the most part, as long as the markets are relatively healthy and risk on over the course of the lifetime of that company. But it doesn't apply
Yeah.
to everyone, and we'll see how things break.
Yeah, and I'm not even sure it applies to me. Again, I'm not an expert on knowing when to buy and when to sell and perfectly time these entry and exits. For me, it's day to day. Do I, is there a chance I do actually just hold and never sell for like 5 to 10 years? It's possible. Again, a day by day assessment. For me, maybe month by month as well. Um, I guess Adam, the last prediction that I have, that I didn't mention in the tweet that I've been thinking about, I think we might. I'm less confident about this prediction. I think we might see one of these companies like a Thai, Cybin, or MindMed. I'm thinking of as well here. Um, maybe a similar. This would be great if they had a similar like AbbVie type partnership that Gilgamesh had, where they create a licensing deal on one of their early drugs. And the reason I'm saying this is because, well, first of all, they don't have enough money for these early programs. Also, a Thai, they're working on non-hallucinogenic. Cybin, I think, is exploring chronic dosing with an pathogen type molecule, a phenethylamine. I think they're looking at chronic dosing there for maybe Alzheimer's. Um, MindMed's looking at RMDMA chronic dosing for, I believe, social anxiety in autism spectrum disorder. These are more traditional drugs that pharma could be interested in. And maybe we see a surprise announcement like in the next, I don't know, maybe year of them partnering up with these programs, get some licensing deals. They could have some money to further advance their later stage programs without having to dilute as much. I think that would be interesting.
No, I agree with you. I think it's definitely a possibility, and like we're already seeing kind of the door has already been kicked down. We're seeing some of these partnerships happen already.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't be surprised if we see big pharma kind of start to get some of its tentacles in there a little bit more over the course of time, just to kind of just have a footprint there.
And I actually do think there's a lot of debate about this. I do think ultimately, I think they will want to see more data than they would early efficacy signals from maybe a neuroplastic. I think they're going to want to see large data sets, but I do think eventually they will become interested in these hallucinogenic programs. I really believe that. I think I've heard Doug say it's too big of an opportunity for these type of pharma companies to miss out on. Um, with that being said, with all these predictions, again, we reserve the right to be wrong. And I'm just excited to see these data readouts. We've had a long time of, aside from the phase 2B, which was a while ago, and MindMed's large phase 2B trial as well, a lot of nice, little cute open label data sets, very nice. But the data doesn't tends to not look as good historically when you get into larger trials. So, you know, I think it's a show me story for the whole space. And I hope they show a good story. I'm really excited, Adam. How about you?
Yeah, I am excited, and I'm also just my heart will break if something doesn't work out because I know how you will be affected. You literally almost held a candle night vigil for maps when that didn't that didn't go right. So I'm not really worried about me. I'm more so worried about you, to be honest. And I hope that everything goes well because I fear for how you will react if something doesn't work out. But
Oh,
yes,
dude.
show me story. Show me. I'm tired of being down on these stocks. I would really like to just be able to talk to my family over the course of Thanksgiving dinner and be like, "Hey guys, I told you about psychedelic stocks, and they're doing pretty well now." I haven't been able to say that since forever, it seems like. So please show me something, please.
My friends, so that's hilarious you say that. I remember, oh God, my voice cracked. I remember you were poking fun at me when Steve and I recorded our reaction to the MDMA news. You were like, Jake, I thought you were about to cry in that in that video. A lot of it, yes, I am sad to see the stocks go down. And also again, I want these treatments to be available to people. I think they could be really transformative. I gotta say, I am most excited about the potential for addiction, actually by a long shot. I gotta say. With that being said, I hope we see some more large scale trials with for addiction, where we're seeing some small phase 2 trials. I would like to see larger ones there. I'm really excited about the potential to treat addiction. Um, and Adam, speaking about the stocks, it's funny. I have friends to this day. They're like, Jake, you ever think about what would have happened if you went just into index funds 3 years ago, not these
Don't even
psychedelic
talk to me
stocks?
about that,
I'm
please. That
like,
just
I'm like,
makes me
and
nauseous.
I tell them, I still think it's going to outperform the S&P, even with it being down this much. But anyways, we'll see. I'm excited. I'm on the edge of my seat here, to be honest. I'm looking out for news early in the morning on any type of data readout. I guess maybe it's running a little long here, but I'm looking forward to in the near term 12-month data from Cybin on CYB3, ELE 101 phase 2A data from Atai Beckley, IV psilocin, BPL 003, 5-MeO DMT, and alcohol use disorder. And yeah, I'm ready.
I'm ready.
All right, listen, folks, thank you so much for tuning in. Please, if you watch this entire thing, leave a comment down below. I want to hear your predictions. Let's have a discussion in the comments section. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and we will be back soon with another exciting interview. Looking forward to it, and have a great day, everyone.
Thank you very much, everyone. Have a great day.